Last video I made a mistake in demonstrating a feature, so we're going to have another crack at this as the benefits of doing things live. So with the new version of Spry, we've had about 100 patches make their way through the beta phase. Just a lot of small quality of life improvements. I'm just going to focus in on the main ones that are going to potentially change the way that you work or give you some new options. So first things first, user feedback at the top of the Spry window. So if you've got feature requests up here in the top right now, or you've got bugs that are occurring that aren't involving a crash report, so you've got potentially numbers that you think are wrong, or like a hang as opposed to an actual crash where Spry doesn't give you the opportunity to send through an error report, so we don't know that necessarily you're struggling with the software. You can send those reports now directly from Spry rather than having to get in your email and sort it out externally, so just a quicker way of you getting through to the support team. As always, I like to mention if something's urgent, like you're looking for support immediately, just get on the phone during business hours. So the number's down the bottom. Yeah, so get those feature requests, bug reports through to us directly now. The next feature or change to the way that you might want to work revolves this combined horizontal and vertical tab grouping. So if you're on a bigger screen, one of the limitations of Spry in the past has been just that if you wanted to have multiple windows, you had to decide between whether or not you wanted to go vertical or go horizontal with the way that you had your windows laid out. Now you have the opportunity to do both. So you can actually have a combination, and so we can go a vertical tab split down the bottom and have, say, you may like your animation in a wide view, but then have, it might help if I selected the right window before changing, but you can now have the layout that you like. And also, if you haven't used the functionality before, when you close a model, once you've got a nice layout that you like, you may wish to use this option down at the bottom right here for Restore Project Layout, which will mean that the next time that you open up a model, that it will return to whatever layout you had when you previously closed Spry. So it adds another couple of seconds to your model load because it loads up all the windows and moves them around, but what it means is you actually end up landing on the view that you had before. Now this functionality has been around for a while, but now that you've kind of got extra flexibility in how you lay out windows, you might want to start making use of that if you haven't before. Some other changes to the user interface, the More button. So because I had a previous run through of this, you'll have spotted in your view that you've lost the Common and Sections tabs, and they've been replaced by a combined Home tab, which for some people is fantastic, gives you a little bit of extra room and a bit of extra clarity about which buttons do what. But if you don't like the new More button, you also have the option of turning it off and returning to a more complete view of all of your options. So for those of you spending a lot of time doing source, destination and haulage work, you may want to turn that to full, especially if you've got a wider screen and you can deal with the extra room that it takes up. So coming back to the remaining features, so description fields have been added to a lot more places in Spry. So delays, custom fields, haulage logic, also dependencies and constraints. This just means that if you want to hold onto some information in your constraints, for example, about why they are set up the way that they're set up, you now have the opportunity to add some additional information. It doesn't change the way anything gets scheduled, but if you're the kind of person that likes to document what you're doing, that can be very handy. So fill shape added to properties form. So you've always been able to do it through a script, but if otherwise it's been a little bit tricky, is how you can generate a shape that actually has fill in it. So you've been able to do closed shapes, but now you can also tick on the fill option. So we'll just tick that on over here to see the difference. So closed shapes, and you can now fill from here as well. The check project data tool, I wouldn't worry about this too much, but it's very handy for us to be able to support you. The compact database option, I've been ignoring the autosave prompt a couple of times. It probably would have been a good opportunity to show you, but it will pop up again in a moment because I've got my settings set to remind me every minute or so. But if we go back to the Zscan Offset, which is where I had my technical issues on the previous run through, what the Zscan Offset is if you generate a surface, like for your dump reserves, oftentimes they're cut, or even your dig reserves, depending on the state that they're in, they're cut to a very flat, close to perfect 0 RL. So if we have a look at my dump solids here, they're kind of at the 129.999, 130.001. And what this means is when you generate a contour on this in the past, what it's ended up with without any scan offset is you've ended up with a contour that doesn't include the 130. So if we just turn off those grids there, I get all the way up to the 128 line, but it doesn't get up to the 130 line because just the maths of it is not quite right. If you're hitting that when you're doing your contours, if you shift your scan by a couple of centimeters, so if I push my scan down effectively by about 2 centimeters here, I think 2 centimeters should give me the result that I'm looking for. I'm now getting a contour around there. I might want to shove it down a tiny little bit further to get a nice, a slightly cleaner result. I think some of them are at the 129.98. So if we just change that contour to something like 5 centimeters, not enough to impact the actual proper, you know, the result of it, but enough to give you a different contour set on your solids. So if we then change that and make it even a little bit further again, you'll start to get that smoother result that you're looking for with the contour. So the solids in this model are a little funny. It can be a little bit trickier to make those results come out well. So coming back to the autosave prompt, there's a compact database option in there. So if I can get it to fire off by doing something that wants to check the autosave prompt. Probably a spreadsheet, I would have thought. Pretty much what you're going to get now is, with certain behaviors in Spry, is you're going to get, when the autosave prompt pops up, is the opportunity to compact your database. So basically what that means is when you try running the schedule to see if I can get it to pop up. Nope. So when you see the autosave prompt, you're going to get the option to compact your database. Basically what this means is there's bonus space in your database sometimes, and it just provides you with the opportunity to make your database a little bit smaller. It doesn't really affect performance of your Spry models, but if you're uploading them to a network drive, or you are, you know, creating backups on your own drive, you can save yourself extra space and time by running that compact database option every now and again. It does make the save take longer, so it's not something that you want to do necessarily all of the time, but it's worth doing, especially after deleting or importing a large amount of data, generating a lot of grids, triangulations, things like that. That's where the compaction can come in handy. Anyway, thank you for bearing with me on a couple of those technical challenges with doing live videos. If you have any questions about the new functionality, you've now got this feedback button. Alternatively, get on the phone, give us a buzz. Thank you for your attention, and talk to you soon.